You're watching the Big Daddy Liberty Show. This is the What South Africa Can Be tour. Hi, Njani. Molo Sanbonani, hello, how's it? Welcome to it. This is another episode of the Big Daddy Liberty Show. This is our special feature for the elections. We are touring the country on what is called the What South Africa Can Be tour. Let me say that again, the What South Africa Can Be tour. That's right, your favorite fat boy Sihle Ngobese, aka Big Daddy Liberty, is going to be going across the country talking to you, the ordinary South African, asking you the questions that matter. Are you registered to vote? Are you excited to vote on the 29th of May? And beyond that, you know, what are you voting for? What can this country be? What sort of ideas are prompting you to come out and vote? So the conversation is all about you. Expect a few episodes from me in that regard and a lot of short videos as I engage you, the ordinary South African. Now, as you can see, we're in Durban at the moment, KwaZulu-Natal being the focus of this particular episode as we ask ordinary residents, what will it be? There are four main contenders in this election, the ANC being the incumbent, facing off the threats of the DA, the IFP, and the MK party. Those are the four horsemen of the KZN election. So we wanted to speak to all four of those parties so we can show you who they've put forward as their premier candidates of those four parties, and of course speak to you, the ordinary voters, as they give their offering for what they will do for KwaZulu-Natal. Remember, you can be a part of the conversation by joining us on our hashtag WhatSACanBe. Get the conversation going as we ask that very question to ordinary South Africans. What can South Africa be? So it brings us here to Howick, indeed to the Howick Falls. As you can see behind me, the Democratic Alliance hosting an event here gave me an opportunity to speak to the mayor of the Umgeni municipality and indeed the mayor of Howick, the town, one Chris Pappas. Now, Chris Pappas also happens to be the premier candidate for the Democratic Alliance for the upcoming election. He is, according to the Democratic Alliance, the man who should be leading the province. Can the DA replicate its success story, or at least in their view, of their victory here in the Umgeni municipality for the entire province? Do ordinary KZN voters place any trust in a Chris Pappas or the Democratic Alliance? This and many other questions will pose to the premier candidate for the Democratic Alliance, including asking him the question, how will he fix KZN? Beautiful background. Welcome to the Big Daddy Liberty Show. Very good to meet you.
Thank you very much for being here. I've always wanted to meet you in person. Now I get to do so.
Oh, there you go.
You're the celebrity here.
Not at all, but I can tell you what, of the two of us, you're definitely the popular one. Chris, there is a conversation to be had around the state of KZN right now. The ordinary KZN individual who's wondering perhaps at the end of that election on the 29th of May, who will be the top candidate. I'm going to ask the question bluntly and directly. Why the DA? Why Chris Pappas as premier?
So the first thing is that we need someone with energy, we need someone with the right qualifications, we need someone with the experience to be able to turn this province around. Now, I am a leader of government, I graduated in town planning, I have experience here in turning something that's broken around. I'm part of a generation that feels left behind. We weren't the liberators, but we're not too young to be called born frees. So I exist within that space, and I think many people in KZN have seen the work that we're doing here. Many people in KZN are looking for something different. Other political parties have put the sort of same faces up again for election. And I think that's why. I think I've got all the characteristics to be able to lead this province into the future.
The state of Howick, what was it when you first took over governance, and what was the work you had to put in, and where are things now, and is that going to be the KZN story?
Thank you. So I think the first thing is to acknowledge that we've only been in government for 2.5 years. So there's an incredible amount of work that still needs to be done, and I'm not the first one to shy away from that. But I think the important thing is progress. While many municipalities and many parts of our country are going backwards, we've seen progress in this area, whether it is cleaner streets, whether it is more businesses moving to the area. You can see behind me there's infrastructure upgrades happening to our prime tourist spot. So I'm not saying that this area is perfect, but there's certainly been progress that has been made. And many of the things are things that you don't see. So I can't fix the roads, I can't fix the electricity if there's no money in the bank. So we've paid off all our debts as a municipality. We've got 2 unqualified audits in a row. We are now supporting 1,700 households with free basic services compared to the 133 when we got here. There are very many things that we've purchased, 33 million rands worth of equipment. So yes, is there a long way to go? Of course there is, and there's progress that still needs to be made. But what we have done is show that things don't have to go backwards, and that if you choose different leaders in government and you choose a different political party, progress can be seen and progress can be made.
What can KwaZulu-Natal be?
So I think KZN is such a beautiful province, whether it's the people or the environment that we live in, whether it's our beaches, whether it's our culture, our history. And we just need to be able to take advantage of the opportunities that are presented to us. But we can't do so if we have a government that's not on the side of the people and a government that is not held accountable. So that's what we want. We want to be a partner of the people. Government doesn't belong to the DA or belong to Chris Pappas. It belongs to we the people. And that's what we want to see. So we have 7 pledges for the province, from crime to jobs to water to education. But the most important out of those is jobs in a growing economy. People need dignity, and to be able to bring dignity to your family is to be able to provide for your family. And that's where we must start, fixing the infrastructure that businesses can grow, make it easier for small businesses to start up and to continue. And we know what to do. The solutions are there. We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We've done it in 36 municipalities. We've done it in the Western Cape. We need to tailor it for here. So what does a KwaZulu-Natal look like under the DA, under a Chris Pappas leadership? Well, it's a province with opportunities, a province where the government partners with the people and is not an enemy of the people, a province where there's accountability, that if there are mistakes, we are held accountable, that if we say we're going to do something, we actually do it. And that's what we want to see. But there's a couple of key things that we need to do. So the first thing is that we have to put eThekwini under administration. And I've been real administration. It is 60% of our economy. It is the only metro. We have to put it under administration to ensure that that city gets right. And that then applies to our secondary cities, whether it's in Msunduzi and others, where things are not going so well. Let's get those up and going again. But then a complete reprioritization of budgets, away from nice to have and things that don't add value to people's lives, to things such as infrastructure, such as filling vacancies in schools and in hospitals, and to get services flowing again.
That, of course, was Chris Pappas, the mayor of the Umgeni municipality, indeed the mayor of Howick as a town. As you can see, it's worth saving. That's the slogan of the Democratic Alliance, rescue KZN, rescue South Africa. I think it is worth rescuing it. But you'll let me know. This is about you. We're going to test all the things that Chris has said here. We're going to head to the town of Howick. What does the town look like? Is it as clean as he says it is? Are the residents of Howick going to corroborate what Chris has said? And indeed, we'll ask ordinary people what they think. All right, we're in the middle of Howick. Now, this is the main town center of the Umgeni municipality. Umgeni, of course, run by the Democratic Alliance. The mayor is one Chris Pappas. He's also standing to be the premier, potentially, of the province under the DA. I just decided, let's talk to ordinary residents here in Howick. Do they agree with their mayor in saying that there are improvements in the town, and would they vote DA for the province? This town is currently run by the Democratic Alliance. The mayor is Chris Pappas. We just spoke to him now. Have you seen any improvements since they've come in? And would you vote for them for the provincial elections?
Yes, we can vote because there is a lot of improvement in this town. Yeah, potholes are being filled, and a lot of outsiders are coming, visitors, and
All right, sir. Thank you for your time. Appreciate it. Hi, ma'am. We're asking residents the question. Here in Howick, since the DA took over and Chris Pappas in particular became your mayor, are you seeing any changes, any improvements into the town?
Yes, there is.
Okay, sir?
yes.
Even at the falls too. It was too dirty, filthy, everything is clean now.
Well, funny enough, we've just come from the falls, and that's where we interviewed the mayor. It was beautiful. I must agree with you. Maybe let me ask one more question. 29 of May, end of this month, is the provincial and national elections. Firstly, are you registered to vote?
Yeah, we reached.
Okay. And my second question is, what are the key issues that you care about the most? What's going to bring you out to go vote? What would you like to be fixed in South Africa?
It's the crime, and it's these paras are worrying everybody, breaking into the house, all that. Stealing. Can't sleep in peace at night.
Folks, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate it. Thank you. All right. right, so we now find ourselves in Ntuzuma Township. It's ironically not the first time I've been here. If you've seen a previous show I've done on the show called Taxiland, then you'll recognize perhaps this background in Ntuzuma Township. Why are we here? We're here to have a chat with IFP members and indeed follow their premier candidate Utami Ntuli as he campaigns, talking to ordinary residents on the ground, doing door-to-door, asking them for the votes. Baba, welcome. I'm asking two questions to all South Africans. Basically, number one, are you registered to vote?
Yes, I'm registered to vote.
Okay, number one. I think the question that's most important is, I can see you're wearing your IFP t-shirt. Why the IFP?
IFP is a good political party.
Mm-hmm.
As we know, before 1994, IFP, everything we got here is built by IFP, including schools, hospitals, and everything that we got right now is built by IFP.
So as a final question, so for you personally, you want to see IFP come back into government?
Yes.
Okay.
On my point, I want IFP to come back because during the IFP time, everything was good. No poverty, nothing.
Baba, thank you. Baba Ntuli, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the Big Daddy Liberty Show. Let me begin there. I think a lot of people who might be first-time voters are wondering to themselves, who do I vote for? Can you, in your words, give us an indication of why the IFP?
Well, I think I know all political parties, their promises that they are making, which are looking lucrative. But what is different about the IFP is that we talk about the track record of good and clean governance. We talk about the legacy of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi. To unpack the legacy, in KwaZulu-Natal we governed even during the democratic dispensation with three premiers. It was Premier Dr. Lionel Mtshali, Dr. Frank Mdlalose, Dr. Ben Ngubane. And all of them, they provided clean governance. And then what is it that the legacy of Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi did for the people of KwaZulu-Natal? We built more than 6,000 classrooms. We built colleges of education, which are now have been converted to TVET colleges. We built institutions of higher learning, such as the universities. The significant one is Mangosuthu University of Technology, wherein Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi visited his friend, whom they actually said, "We have seen what you have done, good things for the people of KwaZulu-Natal, and now we want to do something for you, to thank you. What can we do for you?" And then he responded by saying, "The people of KwaZulu-Natal, in particular the blacks, are suffering, the youth. They don't have enough tertiary institutions. Build for me a university for the people. That is how you can thank me." That is the kind of the legacy and the kind of the leader that we had in the IFP.
There is a fear that most KZN residents have, stemming, of course, from the looting and the riots a couple of years ago. And, of course, I can take that one step further, a general fear around crime in this province. And of course, an even bigger problem now that's become an almost daily newspaper article is these various hitmen in KZN. KZN clearly has a violence problem, and there are concerns, of course, on political violence. What's your message on this one? Firstly, how will the IFP deal with crime in this province and lawlessness generally? And number two, on issues of political violence, are you seeing anything like that?
I don't think there is any leader now, after His Excellency Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi passed on, who has ever been vocal to the issues of the political assassinations, the assassination of the traditional leaders, the killings of the ordinary citizens, other than myself, on different caps, such as on Salka, as the chairperson of Salka in the province, and the leader of the IFP in this province. I've been persistent in making the call I was making of collaboration, because in my view, if the society can be aware of the situation which we're faced with, and then stand together with the leaders of the society, such as the traditional leaders, such as the business leaders, such as the religious leaders, such as even the police themselves, if we can stand together to fight this kind of the killings, like an incident in Wanongoma where the assassin was trying to kill a council and the community apprehended and handed that assassin to the police. That's a kind of the attitude which will be developing. Hence, we are saying even those volunteers who are operating as the community policing forums are saying we'll be putting aside a budget as the IFP to ensure that they get the resources and stipends, because the work that they do is quite very important, and will ensure that the support to the police in terms of the resources will be prioritized. I know that the police unit is for national, but I know that we also have a role. Hence, they are in our province. So we are clear that we'll be ensuring that the law will be quite very strict.
What are your priorities in the first 100 days?
We have said the issue of crime is our priority. The issue of infrastructural investment, like the roads, stormwater pipes, sewerage systems, is our priority, though some of the functions are for the municipalities. But as the provincial government, we have a support responsibility. However, when it comes to the road infrastructure, which is quite very important for investors and for the economy, we have said that's a priority. The issue of job opportunities, another IFP priority, because we want to see everyone being employed. Even that, you see, a decision to say when you're 35 and above you can't be employed, we'll scratch that part of the prescript, because we believe someone who's below an age of retirement must be afforded an opportunity. We said we'll be focusing to the issues of education to ensure that all schools have science labs, libraries, computer labs, etc., to ensure that when they practice there, they do not learn through theory, and only those who are in urbans or urban girls and boys will have all the necessary infrastructure. That's our priority, because to invest in education, to us as the IFP, we feel is quite very important. The township and the rural economy, we said we'll prioritize that, but the most important one, we have spaza shops, tuck shops, saloons, barber shops that have been taken by the illegal foreigners. We're then saying when people vote for us, we'll ensure that they go back to the people of KwaZulu-Natal and the people of South Africa. We don't have any shame on that one, but illegal ones, except those who will be having permits, who are legal. But for those who are illegal, we'll correct that.
Let me introduce my guest as we have the conversation on, hey, what South Africa can be. This is the What South Africa Can Be tour. My name is Sihle Ngobese, Big Daddy Liberty. Mr. Reddy, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sihle. It's a pleasure being on the show with you. I follow you, and I think you're doing a great piece of work. Thank you for having me.
That's very charitable. Thank you very much. So let's hop straight into it. I think there is a conversation to be had, really, about the state of KwaZulu-Natal. Let's begin there, because for the average resident in KZN, things are not rosy. From massive, weather events such as the floods that have wrecked infrastructure across the province, to social events, the July riots, if you'll remember back to that. And I will be a bit probing and, sort of critical slightly by saying, well, a lot of that, if you remember back, was attributed to the Jacob Zuma phenomenon. They were called the Zuma riots for a while. There's someone listening to this interview right now thinking, why should I vote MK? Because, it's associated with violence and unrest and the like, or even its major candidate to Jacob Zuma, the corruption allegations against him. Very briefly, as someone who says something like that out in the public, who's a voter, how do you respond to that?
Well, I think people realize that there is a need for change and they need the ANC to be removed from government. If you look at KwaZulu-Natal, the ANC support has dwindled over the past years because people have lost faith in the ANC and its current leadership. The ANC has completely failed to keep KwaZulu-Natal to improve this province. And I fully agree with you, people have become disillusioned. Now, the question that is on everybody's mind is who is able to remove the ANC. It cannot be any other party except Umkhonto weSizwe. Umkhonto weSizwe is an offshoot of the ANC. If ever anybody wants to think that Umkhonto weSizwe is a joke, they are mistaken. And if they think that Umkhonto weSizwe is a warring party, they're also mistaken. I want you to know that Umkhonto weSizwe is the military wing of the ANC that broke away. President Jacob Zuma, who is the leader and president of MK Party, he was the head of intelligence of the ANC. He started a number of reforms in this country, and before we could see that those reforms come into fruition, he was hastily removed. So it is now imperative that MK Party continues those reforms.
Why do you think people are moving and switching their support from you, to you, pardon me?
Yeah, we underestimate the voter. And I think for too long, political parties have done this. They've treated the voters with absolute contempt, and they thought that throwing money on election day is what's going to make people vote for them. Remember, in 1994, people came out to vote because they hated apartheid. And this was an opportunity for them to show their support for, at that stage, the ANC. They moved to ANC because of their hatred for apartheid. Today, they hate the ANC. People hate the ANC. They are living in poverty. There's no amount of T-shirts that the ANC can give them, fancy rallies, that's ever going to change their mind. 30 years of suffering is embedded in the minds of the majority of voters. 55% of South Africans, in terms of Stats SA, live in abject poverty, of which 38% live off just one meal a day if they are lucky. Our kids today, it's extremely difficult for them to get a good education because they're living in poverty. So we need to break away from this. And people need understand the need for change. And that's the reason why they come to Umkhonto weSizwe. They see President Zuma as that hope. President Zuma is a very likable former president of the country. He's also someone who attracts the masses. Wherever you go, I've been with him at various functions throughout the country where he's present, and I see this. He's a very popular leader. He seemed to be simple, down to earth with the people. On the other hand, you have Ramaphosa, who speaks the Queen's English and who's obviously been trained in London or wherever. He is so far removed from the realities of the people on the ground that even ANC members will find it hard to go and vote for him.
So as we taper off our conversation, because I did say I'll try and keep it to 10 minutes, I must push back just for the sake of, being critical, so I'll see how you respond to that. Someone might say, well, hang on, Jacob Zuma had 2 terms as a president, or 1 and a 3/4 term as a president. All the changes you're touting now as the MK, he could have done as president with a majority and a whole ANC infrastructure, if you will, which he led. Why is this time any different? Is there any real change that we're going to see under a Zuma administration?
The Zuma administration under Umkhonto is what's going to bring about the change. The Zuma administration under the ANC was the most challenging part of our history, because remember, President Zuma had to deal with white monopoly capital, the Stratcom agenda, the media that has been captured. He's also had to deal with the ANC that has been captured. Many of the ANC members were being paid by white monopoly capital to ensure that his set of reforms that he was trying to bring into the country, by the way, which were ANC resolutions that he wanted to implement, which included land expropriation without compensation, radical economic transformation insofar as bringing in black business into this white-dominated economy. All these things were being thwarted by people within the ANC and by opposition parties that were bought by white monopoly capital, and the media that portrayed him as being a villain and not a hero. Now we have Umkhonto we Sizwe, which is not that. Every member of Umkhonto understands the need for this transformation. We are committed, we're not bought off. We don't have the money like the ANC has from white monopoly capital, like the DA and others, but we have a campaign that's driven by the ground, by people on the ground, by ordinary citizens who realize that their only hope is the MK party and nobody else.
Mr. Reddy, I must say thank you very much. I've taken more than the allocated time here that I self-allocated. Maybe as a final message then, and I do this with all parties, there's that young voter who I said earlier on, first-time voter is wondering who to vote for, maybe in a short 2-3 sentences, why MK?
The only choice for young people today, old people, or any South African, is the MK party, especially if you believe that there's a need for change. The biggest mistake that young people make is that they think that politics is a waste of time, it doesn't bring about any change. Well, I think this time around, give it a try. Go out there, vote for MK, become involved in MK. By the way, the majority of our members in MK are actually young people who have chosen MK because they see it as a beacon of hope in a country where we are actually wallowing in absolute despondency and where there's simply no hope. MK is that hope. We're inviting you to come and give us a chance, become involved in our structures, join your local branches, and most importantly, vote for MK because you can hold us accountable.
There it is. Thank you, sir. Appreciate your time. Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's it. That's it for the KZN edition of the What South Africa Can Be tour, as we talked to all the political parties that mattered, or at least we tried to. We tried to get in touch with the ANC. We scheduled the interview. We went to their offices and they bailed on us at the last minute. We had a chance to speak to the premier candidates of the Democratic Alliance, Chris Papas. He gave us his views around what they can do for KwaZulu-Natal. We also spoke to the IFP, of course, as you remember, their candidate Ubabutuli and their vision for the party, the province rather. There are certainly some trends that you're beginning to see here. The MK party seeming to be a firm favorite on the ground. Will that translate, of course, into votes at the end of the day? That is the question that a lot of us are asking as we consider the four horsemen of KZN politics: the ANC, the DA, the IFP, and of course the MK party. Those are the four horsemen of KZN politics. And as I wrap up this episode, there's two conclusions I want to reach. The first is this: whoever wins, you hear it from ordinary people on the ground. There are substantive changes that they're looking for at the end of or after these particular elections. The second thing is the decision is yours as the voter. You get to decide what the future of KwaZulu-Natal and South Africa looks like. You get to decide what South Africa can be.